I have been meaning to make this video for such a long time. So yeah, I wrote this book, How to Get a Training Contract in Ireland. Sorry, just to get distracted. Look, my jumper is in class. I push back a bit because I look like a cabbage patch. This bow is a bit much, but it's the only thing I had. That's a lie. Okay, need to calm down a bit before I make this video. So yes, I've been so looking forward to making this video for a very, very long time. So this is like a part 2 to the video I did during the summer. And yeah, so I've written this book. This is the printed version, How to Get a Training Contract in Ireland. And it's available on my website. So please go and get it. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what's inside it. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? The one I really want to focus on is skills of a great lawyer. And actually, I think this is like the missing part of being a solicitor, is the skills of a great solicitor. And nobody ever taps you on the shoulder and like asks you, hello, do you have the skills to be a great solicitor? It's just like a given. It comes with the territory. People are like, they're a good solicitor, they're not. But it's not that easy when you're just starting off. So you need to figure out what are the skills. But I've gone and done the work for you. And I premise this in my book by saying you don't need to have all of these skills to be a good lawyer or solicitor. But if you recognize some of these traits in yourself, that would be really good. So yeah, the first one is communication. Now, extroversion and introversion play no role here because communication is a skill. There's not like the people person. Get all of that stuff out of your head. Communication is a skill, okay? Because how you communicate causes a ricochet. It causes an effect on everything else you do. Communication is layered. It's layered with circumstances, attitudes, beliefs, biases. There's so many layers to communication, and all of this can actually go against you if you're not aware of all the layers. Now, I don't go into that in the book, but that's just some information I'm telling you here. You will be asked to do things, and they may be in a manner which you don't like because your perception and your beliefs are telling you that there's some hostility in that instruction. But the person making that instruction may have no awareness of how harsh it's coming across, or that it could be taken up in a certain way. So being a good communicator is also recognizing when other people's communication isn't what it should be, and just accepting that they haven't taken into account all the factors which you have. It's all about awareness. I always say this on my Instagram. Life is a big game of self-awareness, and communication is one of those areas where awareness is just key. And like when you think of a baby or a toddler, they have the lowest level of awareness when they communicate, because it's just completely out of a place of selfishness. They just want what they want now. They're animalistic in their approach. They don't know any better. We do know better, and we have to bear that in mind when we're communicating, but also when we're receiving communication. And that is the essence of effective communication. Communication can be oral or written. There's a big difference. There's certain things you don't write down, and there's certain things they're better off said in person. And a lot of the time inefficiencies can come when there's these emails back and forth. Thoughts? ? Like that drives me insane when somebody forwards on an email with the word thoughts ? That's just shallow work, in my opinion. And I got that from the book Cal Newport, Deep Work, and I totally agree with him. I'm completely against communicating by email like that. And that is ineffective communication, and that is a skill that you learn. Written communication comes with practice. People say I'm a crap creative writer, and that's because I am just such a square. And that's fine. I've had to accept that I'm never going to be a J.K. Rowling. But I am good at writing purposeful, instructive writings. That's where my skill is. And that's because I've done a lot of that, which unfortunately has turned off my creative writing bit because I'm just not used to it. But I probably would be better creative writer if I read more fiction, or if I wrote more fiction. But I don't. I am just a square who writes facts. Real life all day long. Therefore my skill is developed in that area. And the same will happen to you. The more factual, purposeful communications you write, the better that skill will become. The next one is creativity. And now all of you know that I am not creative in the artsy sense, so don't use me as an example. But creative in the legal sense means that you are innovative, or you can see better ways to make processes easier. You have a think outside the box mentality. You don't always just revert to what's always been done. And especially with the coronavirus at the moment, reverting to what always has been done is no longer an option. So we all are being forced to being creative, and that will ensure longevity and is also a partner of adaptability, which is also another skill of being a lawyer. Facts change, people change, scenarios change. You need to be able to move with the times. Again, the coronavirus is a great example of being adaptive. Being able to work from home, being able to think on your feet, they're all skills of a great lawyer. All of this as well has forced us to question our self-confidence and our resilience in our abilities. There's this phrase, fake it till you make it. And I didn't really like it at the start because I was like, well, I gotta fake it. But it is true. Sometimes you have to believe that you are that good and you will become that good. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It also works in the other way around. So, you need to have very strong resilience and self-confidence as a solicitor, because there are people who are going to want to upset you, and it's not going to be personal, but if you're not strong enough to recognise it as such, it will become personal and it will dig away at you. So you have to be able to do a lot of self-maintenance, wellness. I talk about that in a lot of other different videos. Stress management, that's a completely different topic which I'm going to cover another day, but it is another skill actually. It's a muscle you exercise. Of course, attention to detail. What does this actually mean in practice? It means that you're not lazy, I think. I don't see any other way of describing it. I'll give you an example. I was amending a contract on Friday and I was doing my thing. Next thing, the font and the structure of the whole thing went awry. And the lazy thing would have been just to leave the font and the numbering and be like, ugh, like no one's ever going to look at this contract. It's the substantive part of it which is important, which is true. But that's my work and that's my legacy that's going to be left after me. And my name is on it. So people will be like, oh, Jennifer did this contract. It doesn't look great. Like, it's right, but it doesn't look good. That's attention to detail. And, picking up spelling mistakes, picking up grammatical mistakes, making sure cross-referencing is done correctly. That is all horrible. And you get no thanks for it. The only time that stuff will ever come back to haunt you is if, God forbid, and sorry, I'm not religious, the gods of law forbid, that contract comes in front of a judge someday and they're like, the impression I get of this lawyer, this is a lazy lawyer, and he might not like, or she might not like what they see, and their perception will be skewed by your lack of attention to detail. So yeah, you have to play the long game when it comes to attention to detail, but it's also come down to your own pride in your own work. Like I always say, people are like artists and they make the pottery and all of this. I think of my contracts as like my piece of art, and I don't want it to be shoddy. Commercial awareness, where do you even get this? This comes down the line from experience, but initially it comes from reading newspapers because you don't have the experience, or listening to media. So if you are green or if you're new to the profession, make sure you are listening to media and you pick up kind of commercial acumen through consuming media. And then once you're a practitioner, you'll pick it up as you go along. You'll see ways in which there's cost savings, which are better for your client, and you'll be able to maneuver based on your experience, your wisdom. So that's commercial awareness. Conflict resolution. So most solicitors have the reputation of being non-compromising, but this doesn't work in practice. You need to know where to give in on certain points and where to go hard on other points. That also comes from experience. But your conflict resolution type, you can actually do a test on this, that will let you know what your comfort zone is. Like, are you somebody who gives in? Are you somebody who compromises? Are you somebody who goes hard? Decisiveness, yeah, you can't be beating around the bush too much because there's a lot of money at stake. So you need to be responsive, like not too responsive, but you need to be responsive. You need to be on top of things, and that comes down to organization. You need to be a self-starter. You need to be independent. You need to be able to work without constantly being babied. You need to be a leader. And what I mean by leadership, and communication and leadership go hand in hand. If you're a good communicator, you're a good leader. And what I mean by leadership is not, I am the leader, everyone has to follow me. It's just like, for example, if you watch on a football pitch, there's some natural leaders. They give other people, they support other people emotionally. They are decisive in their decision making, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to move on to hard skills. Hard skills are things that they're hard and you simply have to learn them. You're not born with them. First one is research and analysis. When you get a piece of information, how are you able to interpret it and then come out with a net result which will impact people's decision making? That is analysis. Research is, do you have the intuition to go through a certain amount of information and pick out what is relevant? Legal knowledge, that just comes from years of reading. Every day I try and learn something new in the legal field. Either I am reading articles, I'm reading articles from other law firms, I'm doing a diploma, I'm constantly learning because your legal muscle needs to constantly be fed with knowledge so you can stay relevant and you can stay useful to your clients. Drafting, written communication, as I said before, that comes with practice. The other big one is public speaking. People, Warren Buffett has said that this is a massive skill of leaders, and I agree, because if you cannot speak to people and speak to their needs, and this comes from public speaking a lot of the time, and introducing new concepts, they're going to find it very hard to trust you. So yeah, public speaking is very important. Timekeeping, so massive, and that comes into productivity as well, which I'll do another video on. But yeah, lawyers are paid by the hour, so if you're not keeping time and if you're not keeping to a budget, it's going to be very messy for you. Technical and digital skills, please become familiar with all the new technologies that are out there. You will be left behind if you don't. Yeah, please, the book has lots of other stuff in there about how to get a training contract, but I just thought skills of a lawyer is a very important area. But they're, in my opinion, the soft and hard skills lawyers should have. If you have any questions or anything, you know where to contact me. Please subscribe. Yeah, and hopefully we'll get through this corona thing. As you can see, I'm well set up. Not really, it's very lonely. And yeah, keep the faith. Thank you for tuning in.